So in your TED Talk, you said that we only see like a small part of what's on the internet. So we're just wondering, like, what is it that we can't see?
Well, that's the question. So this whole thing about the way that all of this data, it's totally invisible.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is. We don't know what data about us is just out there.
Yeah.
And, making this visible, finding out what information about us is out in the world and being used in ways we don't know and don't understand. That's a really sort of vital next step, I think, to holding this entire kind of economy to account.
Yeah. So here in Sweden, should we be scared? I mean, we don't have Brexit or Donald Trump.
Yes.
But we're on the internet, so should we be scared?
Yes, because maybe these things haven't happened in Sweden yet.
Yeah.
But we know that Facebook is being used in every single election in the world. It's where your politics is going on.
Yeah.
And the amount of information that is now just out there on the internet and can be used by political parties to manipulate us in ways we can't see. I mean, that is going on right now. And so, the other example I can give you is, so in Britain, in the last election, 1/3 of political advertisements that were being shown in the weeks running up to the election were being placed by organisations. We don't know who they were. We don't know whose money that was. We don't know which forces were trying to influence us. And that's because, these Facebook, it's just this sort of black box where anybody can do anything. And that's as true in Sweden as it is anywhere else. So although it hasn't happened yet, you are vulnerable, and it almost certainly to some degree will start happening here.
Yeah, because I think people our age, we're not on Facebook.
I bet you're on WhatsApp.
Yeah, WhatsApp, YouTube.
I bet you're on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, Snapchat. Is it there as well?
So, WhatsApp and Instagram are both owned by Facebook.
Yeah.
So when we talk about Facebook, we're also absolutely talking about Instagram and WhatsApp. It's all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
And then YouTube is part of Google. So that's the other big company. So this is all of the channels that you're using to talk to your friends.
Yeah.
This is all information that you're giving to these companies.
Yeah.
And these companies, for them, information is power. And information is money. It's where it's where their things come from. So although it may, for you, it's just a free service. It's this expression which is that if it's free, you're the product.
Yeah.
And that is certainly true of all those things that you're using. Instagram, we know is being used in very much the same way as Facebook to manipulate people in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. So you can say like this is all over the internet. You can't like avoid it.
Let's just say so. What it used to be. So when I started using the internet, which just isn't that long ago, the internet was just this open space. It was like public space. It was like a public square. But now what's happened is these two companies, really, Google and Facebook, they've taken over like great swathes of the internet.
Yeah.
So all of the places where you go now, like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and using WhatsApp, the same company, this is private space. It's owned by these private companies, and because of that, they have this inordinate amount of power and also this inordinate amount of information from us. And so that's the difference. It's not public space anymore. We're being controlled by these really big companies.
Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's excellent. I'm so pleased you said that.
So like influencers and YouTubers.
Yeah.
Do they have, because some of them like post their entire lives on like, YouTube.
Yeah.
So what's the danger in that?
Well, it's an extreme, basically, I think it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because maybe you or I, we look at those people and go, they're so crazy, why would you put your whole life on the internet?
Yeah.
Are you mad? But actually, we are also putting our whole life on the internet.
Yeah.
We just don't realise. We're just leaving these little crumbs of data around.
Yeah.
We think that's, you can't tell anything from that, the fact that I'd like to post.
Yeah.
But actually the whole thing is that these companies, they harvest up all of those crumbs and then they build a like influencer type image out of us. And it may not even be accurate.
Yeah.
They may have an idea of us that's false.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they have that and they use that, and it affects all sorts of things. So it affects whether you can buy a car, potentially, because they'll sell that information to a finance company.
Yeah.
And it'll say, I don't really like the look of her, I think she's a bit risky, I don't like the fact that she also does pole dancing. I mean, I'm sort of, exaggerating, but this is all part, and it's very much going to be part of the future.
Yeah.
This stuff we just gave away is it's being gathered and it's being used, and the fact that we don't know how it's being gathered and used is really the problem.
Yeah. So how does it look like in the future? I mean, they have so much information about us.
Yeah.
So where does it lead?
So the thing that I just said, there's all sorts of, you can come up with all sorts of science fiction scenarios, but you really don't need to. You just need to look at what is going on in China.
Okay.
So in China, it's really interesting. They have social profiling, and it means that you can't open a bank account unless you have a good score. So they combine all these different scores, like, are you a good citizen? Do you pay your taxes on time? Do you put your rubbish out on time? And then they gather those bits of information, and it affects whether you can get into like school or university.
Yeah.
But it's that there's a sort of centralised knowledge database about you. And then what the other thing they're doing with that is they are using that information against an entire people, an entire population. So in northwest China, they're imprisoning people, and they can do that because they have all this information about them.
Yeah.
So it's an authoritarian surveillance superstate, and we are already kind of halfway there. And at the moment in Sweden, you have a government you trust, and it's been fairly elected.
Yeah.
But what happens? Maybe in 15 years' time there isn't a government that you like. Maybe the Nazis have got into power, and now they have all this information on you. And you think about that, about the way they could use that. Just like the way that you can look at an influencer and you know that person, and like you know how you could get to them.
Yeah.
Like that is what they can kind of do to you.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything we can do? Because they have so much information.
You can, you don't have to use these. It's really difficult because all of your friends are like on Instagram, so you need Instagram, don't you?
Yeah.
I think apart from anything else at this stage, I use social media to slag off social media companies. So in that way, we need to use these same channels to raise awareness of these issues,
Yeah.
Instagram's owned by Facebook, so, spreading the news about why Facebook is a real problem for the world right now, that's a way that you can subvert these platforms.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yeah. Okay, one last question. To us young journalists, do you have a tip?
So you're already doing amazingly well because you're here. You're paying attention. It's fantastic. Like you're doing this, that's amazing. And my biggest tip is just persistence. And so you know when you write an email and somebody doesn't answer back, and you think, oh, they're not really interested.
Yeah.
And then maybe you send them, I just wondered, did you see my email? And you don't get a response. And I would probably, many times, I think I've given up at like 2 or 3. And actually, like, you've just got to keep going. It's like send 6, 7. And actually you do wear people down that way. That's one thing you can get through that way. But also just that thing, that persistence in that not giving up with when the story becomes difficult.
Yeah.
And actually, that's using that as the challenge. Like, right then, I definitely got to get this out.
Yeah.
So I really think persistence is like a really, really key thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations on the well done and good luck, because we need more journalists.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah.
So that's great. So I'm really pleased.
Thank you so much.
Bravo. No, well done to you. Well done to you.
Thank you.